alphabetic letters. So that's the reason why if you're, let's say you're not Chinese, and someone says to you, can you imagine someone saying to you, how do you spell, for example, China in Chinese? We wouldn't ask that question, would we? We wouldn't say, how do you spell? You'd say, how do you write? You'd say, how do you write? So somehow spelling is associated with the type of characters that have a direct representation to the sound. And as you know, Chinese characters also do. There's several hundred phonetic radicals that you use in Chinese to spell, but you don't use that term, spell. So it's sort of confined to alphabetic type writing. So here's an early example from about 1400. So this is just before Gutenberg. So you can see when you're, this is English, and don't ask me to read that to you because of course I can't. I think I can read Chinese better than I can read that. So let's just take a little longer look at Chaucer. Chaucer is one of the most famous authors from that era. So let's look at some examples. We won't spend long on this because I know it's not all that interesting. But let's take a look. I'll put down what Chaucer wrote, and then the modern version is here. So we can see a lot of similarity, but also a lot of differences. Let's just take a look at the words in red color font. So we can see something has happened, hasn't it? Over 600 years, the spelling has changed. So liqueur becomes liquid. You can see they're similar, but the spelling is definitely different. And I'm just isolating one word, a sentence, but there's other words there that you can see are exactly the same. Other words are quite different. Now here's an interesting one, because both of those words are in modern English, but a little bit different spelling. There's another example. So what I want to do here is take a diversion and talk about why standardization is so important. And you can see here, we're not talking about spelling now, we're talking about measurement. And you can see here that there's both systems I think you're familiar with, yeah? What do we call this? The imperial system, is this called? And this here, of course, is the metric system. You can see how much better the metric system is, can't you? Because everything is standardized. And another, if we take a look around the world, which countries are using the metric system compared to the countries that are using the old imperial system? There you go there. So the reason why I'm taking this diversion is to just emphasize or highlight how important standardization is for the human brain. We really want things to be in a standard way where everyone recognizes the same system. And somehow, well, the United States has somehow not been able to change to the metric system, but the rest of the world has. But if we go back to the previous slide, we can see the metric system is simply better. And this is why we've standardized. So what's this got to do with spelling? Well, it's because there is a need, especially with the internet or especially with books 500 years ago, to have some sort of standard system that everybody can use. Now, I just want to go in a little bit different direction now and talk a little bit about spelling and in society today. We often associate good spelling with high intelligence, and I'm sure all of you are the same. When you see a spelling mistake, it sort of jumps out at you, and you are thinking, well, who wrote this? And especially if it's on your resume, your CV. You make a spelling mistake and you are the employer, you see a spelling mistake, sometimes the boss just throws out the resume with a simple spelling mistake. I mean, if you've got 100 resumes and one of them has a spelling mistake on it, you throw it out. But it's a little bit unfair, isn't it? Because just because you have a very good memory and you can spell very well, doesn't mean you are especially intelligent. So bad spelling, like it or not, bad spelling is usually associated with stupidity. So on that note, we're going to do a little bit of an interactive task. So I'm going to give you a couple of minutes. Well, there's 8 sentences here. I want you to tell me which words are spelled wrong. Okay, you can talk about it. Okay, the way we'll do this is, I'll say the number. If you think it's spelled wrong, you put up your hand. Number 1. Number 2. Number 3. Oh, you're so smart. Number 4. Number 5. Number 6. Number 7. Number 8. Okay, let's take a look. Occasion. And as we're going through these, I want you to try to analyze, because I'm showing you stereotypical mistakes, misspellings. And I want you to try and analyze what are the patterns of mistakes or errors. Accommodation, 2 M's. I spelled this wrong for years before there was a red line checker. Of course, received. This is the classic, and this is a very difficult word to misspell if you're using a word processor, because Microsoft Word has built in a program. If you spell it wrong and then you press spacebar, it automatically corrects it for you, unless you have turned off automatic spell check. Separate is another word that is automatically corrected. Okay, I was being a little bit naughty here. Tell the truth. How many of you caught misspelled as spelled wrong? Hands up. Not one person. And I even said in the sentence, it's definitely misspelled. Okay, it's important. The calendar. Okay, what's the pattern? There's 2 patterns here of most common spelling mistakes are, anybody? Vowels. vowels. Usually vowels in unstressed syllables, because vowels in unstressed syllables always revert to schwa, a sound. I'll give you a couple examples later of this. And of course, the other pattern is double letters. This is where we often make mistakes. And then in some cases, you have American spelling and British spelling. For example, traveling or traveler. American spelling only one L, British spelling two L's. Let's